Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. I hope you all are well. Today we begin our discussion with a powerful image that may sound like something from a futuristic movie, yet it is completely real in today's world of modern naval power and global security. Imagine a gigantic structure moving slowly across the deep blue ocean, a vessel so massive that it carries dozens of advanced fighter jets, thousands of highly trained sailors, sophisticated radar systems, and enough technology to operate continuously for months far away from land, while still influencing events thousands of kilometers away from the place where it sails. This floating airbase weighs more than 100,000 tons and stretches longer than 3 football fields, and yet it travels across international waters as a mobile center of air power and strategic influence, representing one of the most remarkable achievements in naval engineering and military organization ever created by human beings.
That incredible vessel Adam is describing is the American aircraft carrier, USS Abraham Lincoln, one of the most powerful warships operating in the world today, and it represents a central piece of the global maritime strategy of the United States Navy. When international tensions rise in sensitive regions of the world, especially in areas where global trade routes and political interests intersect, this massive ship often becomes an important element of strategic planning because it allows the United States to project air power across long distances without relying on military bases located inside other countries, and that mobility provides a unique advantage in situations where speed, flexibility, and presence can shape the decisions of governments and military planners.
Over the past decades, aircraft carriers like the USS Abraham Lincoln have traveled through many oceans and seas, from the Pacific to the Mediterranean and the Arabian region, supporting operations that range from humanitarian missions and disaster relief to security patrols and international coalition activities. However, when such a massive naval platform appears near regions where geopolitical tensions already exist, people around the world naturally begin to ask important questions about why such a deployment is taking place and what message it might be sending to governments, military leaders, and global audiences who carefully watch every move in international affairs.
One of the regions where aircraft carriers frequently operate is the strategic maritime environment surrounding the Persian Gulf and the waters near Iran, an area that has long been important for global trade, energy transportation, and international diplomacy. In this part of the world, shipping lanes connect continents and economies, and even small changes in security conditions can quickly influence energy markets, international relations, and the decisions of major global powers that depend on stable access to maritime routes. Because of this strategic importance, naval forces from different countries regularly monitor the region, and aircraft carriers often serve as the central platforms around which larger naval formations operate.
So the central question of today's episode is both simple and complex at the same time. Why does the United States deploy an aircraft carrier near Iran, and what role does such a powerful vessel actually play when it arrives in this sensitive geopolitical environment? Some observers immediately imagine dramatic military scenarios whenever they hear about an aircraft carrier entering a region with political tensions, while others see these deployments as part of a broader system designed to maintain stability, monitor developments, and provide decision-makers with flexible options during uncertain situations.
At the moment, the USS Abraham Lincoln has been operating in waters connected to the command area of the United States Fifth Fleet, which is responsible for naval operations across a large maritime region that includes the Persian Gulf, parts of the Arabian Sea, and nearby strategic waterways. The Fifth Fleet works closely with regional partners and international coalitions to support maritime security, protect shipping routes, and ensure that international waters remain open for commercial navigation, which is a critical factor for global trade and economic stability in a world where enormous volumes of goods move across oceans every single day.
Understanding this situation requires us to look beyond dramatic headlines and focus instead on how modern naval strategy actually functions in the real world. Because the presence of a powerful warship does not automatically mean that conflict is about to happen. In many cases, military planners deploy forces like aircraft carriers specifically to prevent misunderstandings, reassure allies, observe developments on the ground, and maintain a visible presence that can discourage sudden escalation during periods of regional tension.
That is why today's discussion is designed as an educational exploration rather than a political argument or a dramatic narrative about conflict. Because our goal here on the English Globe is to understand global events through clear explanations and thoughtful analysis, while also giving English learners the opportunity to follow complex international topics in accessible language. By looking carefully at how aircraft carriers operate and why they are deployed, we can better understand the relationship between military capability, diplomatic signaling, and the broader effort by many nations to maintain stability in regions where political interests often overlap.
During this episode, we will explore several key questions that help explain the role of the USS Abraham Lincoln in today's international environment, starting with a basic but fascinating topic. What exactly is this enormous ship, and how does it function as a floating airbase capable of launching and recovering high-performance aircraft in the middle of the ocean? We will also look at how aircraft carriers operate as part of larger naval formations, how their aircraft support surveillance and security missions, and why their presence can influence strategic calculations in regions where governments closely watch every development.
By the end of our conversation, you will have a clear understanding of several important ideas, including what makes the USS Abraham Lincoln such a unique naval platform, how modern aircraft carriers conduct flight operations far from land, why they are sometimes deployed near sensitive regions like Iran, and how their presence can function as a tool of deterrence and diplomacy rather than simply a symbol of military force. These topics help explain why aircraft carriers remain one of the most visible and influential instruments of maritime strategy, even in an age of advanced missiles, satellites, and rapidly evolving military technologies.
When people first hear about a ship that can carry dozens of fighter jets across the ocean while hosting thousands of personnel, it is easy to focus only on the impressive size and raw power of such a vessel. Yet the real story behind an aircraft carrier is far more complex and interesting because it combines engineering, logistics, aviation, international law, and strategic planning into a single mobile platform that can adapt to many different types of missions depending on the needs of the moment.
So as we begin this exploration together, let us consider one final question that captures the deeper meaning of today's topic and invites us to think carefully about the relationship between strength and stability in international politics. When a massive aircraft carrier appears in a region where tensions already exist, does it signal the approach of conflict? Or can it actually function as a stabilizing presence designed to prevent misunderstandings and encourage cautious decision-making among governments that understand the enormous consequences of escalation?
That question will guide our entire discussion today, as we explore the fascinating story of the USS Abraham Lincoln and the broader strategy behind the deployment of aircraft carriers in some of the most strategically important waters on our planet. When people first hear the name USS Abraham Lincoln, they may imagine a large warship moving through the ocean, but the reality is far more impressive than most people expect, because this vessel belongs to one of the most powerful classes of naval ships ever built in human history, known as the Nimitz-class aircraft carrier. This class of aircraft carriers was designed during the Cold War period and continues to serve as the backbone of the modern United States Navy, combining enormous size, advanced engineering, nuclear propulsion, and the ability to launch sophisticated military aircraft from the middle of the ocean, which essentially transforms the ship into a fully operational floating airbase that can travel anywhere across the globe.
Exactly, Adam. And what makes the USS Abraham Lincoln truly remarkable is its scale. because this is not simply a big ship, but a massive technological platform designed to support complex air operations thousands of kilometers away from land-based airfields. The carrier stretches to around 333 meters in length, which means it is longer than many skyscrapers are tall, and it weighs more than 100,000 tons, making it one of the largest types of warships ever constructed. When you look at its flight deck from above, the enormous flat surface covers more than 4 acres, creating enough space for aircraft to take off, land, refuel, and prepare for missions while the ship continues moving across the ocean.
I completely agree with that observation, Julia, because the size of the flight deck alone already shows why aircraft carriers are such extraordinary engineering achievements. Yet what truly defines the power of a vessel like the USS Abraham Lincoln is not just the steel structure itself, but the aircraft it carries and the operations it supports. Depending on the mission and deployment schedule, the carrier can host between 60 and 90 aircraft, including fighter jets, electronic warfare planes, airborne early warning aircraft, and helicopters, all of which work together as part of a coordinated system that allows the ship to conduct surveillance, patrols, and defensive missions across vast maritime regions.
And when we talk about these aircraft operations, Adam, we also need to remember that behind every flight mission, there is a massive team of people working around the clock to keep everything running smoothly. The carrier is often described as a floating city, and that description is not an exaggeration at all, because more than 5,000 sailors, pilots, engineers, technicians, and support personnel live and work on board during long deployments at sea. These individuals manage everything from flight operations and navigation to maintenance, medical care, communication systems, and even food services, creating a highly organized community that operates continuously, day and night.
That is a very important point, Julia, because the human dimension of an aircraft carrier is sometimes overlooked when people focus only on the technology or military capability. Yet the ship would not function without the thousands of professionals who operate its systems every day. Imagine the level of coordination required for pilots launching fighter jets from a moving deck, engineers maintaining complex engines and radar systems, navigation officers guiding the ship across international waters, and logistics teams ensuring that thousands of people on board have food, supplies, and equipment during missions that can last for many months.
Another fascinating feature of the USS Abraham Lincoln is its propulsion system, because unlike many other ships that rely on traditional fuel engines, this carrier is powered by 2 nuclear reactors, which means it can operate for extremely long periods without needing to refuel. Nuclear propulsion gives the ship extraordinary endurance and flexibility, allowing it to remain deployed across oceans for years while only requiring periodic maintenance and logistical resupply for food and equipment, which makes it one of the most independent and self-sustaining naval platforms ever developed.
That independence is actually one of the main reasons why aircraft carriers play such a central role in global military strategy, because they allow a country like the United States to deploy air power anywhere in the world without depending on air bases located inside other nations. In international politics, access to foreign bases is not always guaranteed, and diplomatic conditions can change quickly, but a carrier strike group sailing in international waters can provide the same capabilities as a land-based airfield while remaining completely mobile and flexible.
I think that is a great way to explain it, Adam, because if we simplify the concept, an aircraft carrier like the USS Abraham Lincoln is essentially a mobile airport that can travel wherever global events require attention. Instead of waiting for aircraft to fly thousands of kilometers from distant bases, the carrier brings those aircraft closer to the region where operations might be necessary, which allows pilots to conduct patrol missions, monitor maritime activity, or support international security efforts much more efficiently.
And when you combine that mobility with the ability to carry dozens of aircraft and thousands of personnel, The result is a platform that can respond quickly to many different types of situations, whether they involve maritime security patrols, disaster response missions, support for international partners, or simply maintaining a visible presence in strategically important regions. This flexibility explains why aircraft carriers have remained a cornerstone of naval power for decades, even as military technology continues to evolve.
Exactly, because despite the development of advanced missiles, drones, satellites, and cyber capabilities, aircraft carriers still provide something unique that very few other military systems can offer, which is the ability to move an entire air wing across the world while maintaining full operational capability at sea. Governments and defense planners understand that this combination of mobility, endurance, and air power gives carriers an important role in shaping strategic decisions during periods of uncertainty or tension.
And that is why ships like the USS Abraham Lincoln continue to appear in global news whenever international security discussions intensify, because their presence alone signals that a nation has the ability to monitor developments, support allies, and respond quickly if circumstances change. In many ways, the aircraft carrier is not just a military platform, but also a strategic tool that allows governments to project stability, reassure partners, and demonstrate readiness without necessarily escalating a situation into open conflict.
So when people see images of the USS Abraham Lincoln sailing across the ocean, they are not simply looking at a large ship, but at one of the most complex and capable naval systems ever built, combining engineering, aviation, human expertise, and strategic planning into a single floating platform that continues to shape the way modern naval forces operate around the world.
And as our discussion continues, we will explore how this extraordinary vessel rarely operates alone, because in reality, an aircraft carrier is usually surrounded by an entire network of supporting ships, aircraft, and defense systems that together form what is known as a carrier strike group, a coordinated naval formation designed to protect the carrier while expanding its reach and operational capabilities across vast areas of the ocean. When people first imagine an aircraft carrier like the USS Abraham Lincoln sailing across the ocean, they often picture a single giant ship operating independently. But in reality, that image does not reflect how modern naval strategy works at all, because an aircraft carrier almost never operates alone in international waters. Instead, it usually leads a powerful and highly coordinated formation known as a carrier strike group, which is essentially a network of warships, aircraft, and support systems designed to work together as one integrated force. This group travels across the ocean as a single operational unit, combining surveillance, defense, logistics, and aviation capabilities in a way that allows the carrier to operate effectively, even in complex security environments.
That's absolutely right, Adam. And understanding the concept of a carrier strike group is essential if we want to understand how modern naval forces function in regions where strategic interests overlap. A carrier strike group typically includes several different types of vessels and systems that each play a unique role in the overall mission. These components usually include guided missile destroyers, long-range submarines, specialized supply ships, and of course the carrier air wing, which consists of fighter jets, surveillance aircraft, and helicopters that operate directly from the flight deck of the aircraft carrier itself.
Exactly, Julia. And what makes this formation so effective is the way each element contributes to a broader network of defense and operational capability. The aircraft carrier itself acts as the central command platform and airbase, but the surrounding ships create layers of protection and support that extend far beyond the carrier's immediate location. In many ways, the carrier strike group functions like a moving ecosystem of military technology and personnel, where every vessel and aircraft has a specific purpose that helps strengthen the overall security and operational flexibility of the entire group.
One of the most important components of this network is the guided missile destroyer, a type of advanced warship designed to detect, track, and intercept potential threats from long distances. These destroyers are equipped with powerful radar systems, missile defense technology, and sophisticated communication equipment that allows them to monitor the surrounding airspace and ocean surface for potential dangers. Because aircraft carriers are such valuable strategic assets, destroyers often form a protective perimeter around the carrier, constantly scanning the environment and ready to respond quickly if any unusual activity appears on their radar systems.
That defensive role is extremely important, Julia, because modern security environments can include many different types of potential threats, ranging from aircraft and missiles to surface vessels and even underwater submarines. Destroyers help create a protective shield around the carrier by extending its radar coverage across a much larger area of ocean, giving the entire strike group more time to detect and respond to any situation that might arise. Their missile defense systems can intercept incoming threats, while their sensors provide crucial information to the carrier's command center.
And during deployments in regions connected to the Middle East, several destroyers have operated alongside the USS Abraham Lincoln as part of this coordinated network. For example, ships like the USS Spruance, DDG-111, and the USS Michael Murphy, DDG-112, have sailed with the carrier during certain deployments, contributing their radar coverage, missile defense capabilities, and operational support to the overall strike group mission. These destroyers are among the most advanced surface combat ships in the world and play a vital role in protecting the carrier and supporting its operations.
Another essential component of the carrier strike group is the presence of submarines operating beneath the surface of the ocean, often remaining invisible to observers above the water. These submarines contribute an additional layer of security by monitoring underwater activity and ensuring that the strike group remains protected from potential threats beneath the sea. Because submarines can travel quietly and remain undetected for long periods, they provide strategic awareness in areas where surface ships might not easily observe what is happening underwater.
That underwater dimension is often overlooked when people think about naval power, yet it is incredibly important for maintaining security in busy maritime regions. While the aircraft carrier and destroyers are visible symbols of naval presence, submarines quietly expand the strike group's awareness and defensive reach by monitoring the surrounding waters and ensuring that the carrier's operations can continue without interference from hidden threats beneath the ocean's surface.
Of course, a strike group also requires an enormous logistical system to support thousands of personnel and complex equipment during long deployments far from home ports. That is where supply ships come into the picture, delivering fuel, food, spare parts, and other essential materials that keep the entire formation functioning smoothly. These supply vessels allow the strike group to remain deployed for extended periods without constantly returning to port, which is crucial when naval forces are operating across vast distances in international waters.
And then we come to the aircraft themselves, which form the carrier's air wing, one of the most dynamic elements of the entire strike group. Fighter jets conduct patrol missions across wide areas of ocean and airspace, surveillance aircraft monitor maritime traffic and regional developments, and helicopters assist with search and rescue operations or logistical transport between ships. Together, these aircraft create an aerial layer of observation and defense that complements the capabilities of the ships sailing below.
When you look at the strike group as a whole, it becomes clear that this is not just a group of ships traveling together, but rather a multi-layered defense system designed to respond to a wide range of possible challenges. The carrier provides air power, destroyers extend radar and missile defense coverage, submarines monitor underwater activity, supply ships sustain long missions, and aircraft patrol the skies above. Each part of the system strengthens the others, creating a coordinated network that can operate effectively across vast areas of ocean.
That coordination is exactly what allows a carrier like the USS Abraham Lincoln to operate even in regions where political tensions or security concerns might exist. Because the carrier is surrounded by multiple layers of protection and supported by a network of specialized vessels and aircraft, It can continue conducting patrols, monitoring maritime activity, and supporting broader security missions while maintaining a high level of operational safety.
And this demonstrates an important idea in modern naval strategy, which is that power at sea is rarely about a single ship or weapon system, but about how different technologies and platforms work together as part of a coordinated force. The Carrier Strike Group represents that concept perfectly, combining aviation, surface warfare, underwater monitoring, and logistical support into a single integrated formation capable of adapting to many different types of missions.
So when news reports mention the deployment of the USS Abraham Lincoln, it is important to remember that behind that single ship is an entire floating network of military capability moving across the ocean together. This network allows the carrier to operate confidently even in strategically sensitive regions while contributing to broader efforts aimed at maintaining maritime security and stability.
And in the next part of our discussion, we will look more closely at the aircraft themselves, because the jets and surveillance planes operating from the carrier's flight deck represent the real operational power of the strike group, allowing it to observe developments across huge areas of airspace and ocean while supporting a wide range of missions that extend far beyond the horizon. When we talk about an aircraft carrier such as the USS Abraham Lincoln, many people naturally focus on the enormous size of the ship itself, the advanced radar systems, or the thousands of sailors working across different departments. But in reality, the true operational strength of a carrier does not come from the ship alone. The real power lies in what is known as the carrier air wing, a carefully organized collection of aircraft that operate from the carrier's flight deck and transform the vessel into a mobile airbase capable of projecting aviation power across hundreds of kilometers of ocean and airspace. Without its air wing, an aircraft carrier would simply be a very large ship, but with dozens of advanced aircraft on board, it becomes one of the most flexible and influential military platforms in the world.
Exactly, Adam. And the carrier air wing is fascinating because it includes several different types of aircraft, each designed to perform a specific role that contributes to the overall mission of the strike group. Among the most advanced aircraft that can operate from modern US carriers are the stealth fighter F-35C Lightning II, the versatile strike fighter F/A-18E/F Super Hornet, the electronic warfare aircraft EA-18G Growler, and the airborne early warning platform E-2D Hawkeye. Each of these aircraft contributes a different capability, and together they form an aerial system that allows the carrier strike group to monitor vast areas of the ocean and respond quickly to changing situations.
Let's start with the fighter aircraft, because they are often the most visible and recognizable part of the carrier's air wing. Jets like the F/A-18E/F Super Hornet are designed to perform multiple missions, which is why they are called multi-role fighters, meaning they can conduct air patrols, protect the strike group from potential aerial threats, and also carry out strike missions if necessary. These aircraft are capable of flying at extremely high speeds while carrying advanced radar systems and precision equipment, allowing pilots to monitor airspace over large areas and maintain a constant watch over the surrounding maritime environment.
And alongside these multi-role fighters, newer aircraft such as the F-35C Lightning II add another important dimension to the carrier's air wing because they are designed with stealth technology and advanced sensors that allow them to gather detailed information about the environment around them. These aircraft can detect and track objects from long distances, providing valuable situational awareness to commanders aboard the carrier and throughout the strike group. Their ability to share information digitally with other aircraft and ships makes them an important part of the network systems that define modern naval operations.
But fighter aircraft are only one part of the story, because modern carrier operations also rely heavily on specialized planes that perform support roles essential to the effectiveness of the entire formation. For example, the E-2D Hawkeye acts almost like a flying command center, equipped with a large radar dome mounted above the aircraft that can scan the surrounding airspace and ocean surface from high altitude. By flying above the carrier strike group, this aircraft dramatically expands the radar coverage of the fleet, allowing operators to detect aircraft, ships, or other objects long before they come close to the carrier itself.
Another fascinating aircraft in the carrier air wing is the EA-18G Growler, which plays a crucial role in what is known as electronic warfare. Instead of focusing primarily on physical weapons, the Growler is designed to manage the electromagnetic environment by disrupting or jamming certain signals if necessary, protecting friendly aircraft and ships while ensuring that communication and navigation systems continue functioning effectively. In modern military operations where radar, communication, and digital networks are extremely important, aircraft like the Growler help maintain technological advantages during complex missions.
When these aircraft operate together as part of a coordinated air wing, they can perform a wide variety of missions that support the overall goals of the carrier strike group. One of the most common activities is air patrol, where fighter jets fly regular routes over the surrounding ocean to ensure that the airspace remains secure and to observe any unusual activity that might require attention. These patrols allow the strike group to maintain awareness of what is happening far beyond the horizon, which is crucial when operating in large maritime regions where ships and aircraft may travel across long distances.
Another important mission involves reconnaissance and surveillance, which means collecting information about the surrounding environment in order to build a clear picture of maritime activity in the region. Aircraft from the carrier can monitor shipping routes, observe weather conditions, and track movements across large areas of ocean, providing valuable information that helps commanders make informed decisions. In busy international waterways where commercial ships, fishing vessels, and naval forces from different countries may all be present, this kind of awareness is extremely important.
These aircraft also contribute to maritime security operations, which focus on maintaining stability in international waters and ensuring that shipping routes remain open and safe for global trade. By flying over strategic sea lanes, carrier-based aircraft can observe maritime traffic, communicate with other ships if necessary, and help ensure that navigation continues without disruption. Because so much of the world's trade travels across oceans, protecting these maritime routes is an important responsibility shared by many nations.
Now, Adam, one of the most fascinating parts of aircraft carrier operations is how these jets actually take off from the ship. Because unlike a traditional airport runway on land, the flight deck of a carrier is relatively short compared with the distance normally required for high-performance jets to reach takeoff speed. To solve this challenge, aircraft carriers use powerful catapult systems built into the deck that accelerate aircraft extremely quickly, launching them into the air in just a few seconds. When a jet is connected to the catapult, the system generates tremendous force, allowing the aircraft to reach flying speed almost instantly, even though the runway is much shorter than a typical airport.
And landing on the carrier is just as impressive as the launch process, because pilots must guide their aircraft toward the moving ship while descending carefully onto the flight deck. Special cables stretched across the deck allow the aircraft to catch a wire with a hook attached to its tail, bringing the jet to a stop within a very short distance. This entire process requires incredible precision, training, and coordination between pilots and the crew on the flight deck, who guide aircraft safely during both launches and landings.
What makes this system even more remarkable is that it operates continuously throughout the day and night, while the ship moves across the ocean. The flight deck is one of the busiest and most carefully organized environments on the carrier, with different teams directing aircraft movement, managing equipment, and ensuring safety during each launch and landing cycle. Even in challenging weather conditions or during nighttime operations, the carrier's crew maintains an organized rhythm that allows aircraft to continue flying missions whenever they are needed.
That continuous rhythm of aviation activity is one of the defining characteristics of an aircraft carrier like the USS Abraham Lincoln, because it allows the strike group to maintain a constant presence in the sky above the ocean. Aircraft can launch for patrol missions, return for refueling and maintenance, and then take off again while other planes prepare for their own flights. This cycle continues around the clock, ensuring that the carrier always has aircraft available to monitor developments and support the broader mission.
So when we talk about the real strength of an aircraft carrier, we are really talking about the combination of advanced aircraft, highly trained pilots, and thousands of support personnel working together to keep those aircraft operating efficiently. The carrier itself provides the platform, but the air wing provides the reach and flexibility that allow the strike group to observe events across huge areas of ocean and airspace.
And that is why aircraft carriers remain such important instruments of maritime strategy, because their air wings allow them to project aviation capability anywhere in the world while remaining mobile at sea. In the next part of our discussion, we will explore why carriers are sometimes deployed near strategically important regions and how their presence can influence the security environment in areas where global trade routes and international politics intersect. Now that we have explored the structure of the carrier strike group and the aircraft that operate from the deck of the USS Abraham Lincoln, an important question naturally appears in many people's minds. Why do we often hear about aircraft carriers operating in waters near Iran and the surrounding Middle Eastern region? The answer is not based on a single factor, but rather on a combination of geography, global trade, and international security considerations that make this part of the world one of the most strategically significant areas on the planet. For decades, policymakers and military planners have paid close attention to this region because events here can influence energy markets, global shipping routes, and diplomatic relations among many nations.
That's absolutely right, Adam, because the Middle East sits at the intersection of several important global systems that affect economies far beyond the region itself. One of the most critical elements is energy transportation, since a large portion of the world's oil and natural gas supplies move through maritime routes connected to the Persian Gulf. The waters near Iran are especially important because they connect directly to one of the most famous and strategically sensitive maritime passages in the world, the Strait of Hormuz, a narrow waterway that links the Persian Gulf with the open waters of the Arabian Sea and the wider global ocean.
The significance of the Strait of Hormuz cannot be overstated, because every day enormous numbers of commercial tankers and cargo ships travel through this passage, carrying energy resources and goods that support the global economy. Many countries across Asia, Europe, and other regions depend on oil that passes through this route, which means that the stability of this shipping lane is important not just for the countries of the Middle East, but for markets and industries around the world. When policymakers discuss maritime security in the region, they often focus on ensuring that ships can move safely through this critical waterway without disruption.
Exactly. And that is one reason why naval forces from several nations regularly monitor activity in the surrounding waters. When an aircraft carrier such as the USS Abraham Lincoln operates in the broader region, it provides a mobile platform that allows commanders to observe developments, maintain communication with other naval forces, and ensure that maritime routes remain open and secure. Because the carrier carries its own aircraft and operates with a network of supporting ships, it can monitor a very large area of ocean while remaining flexible enough to move quickly if the situation requires it.
Another important factor is the broader geopolitical environment of the Middle East, where many countries maintain strategic interests related to security, trade, and diplomatic partnerships. The presence of an aircraft carrier does not necessarily mean that conflict is expected, but it can provide decision-makers with options and situational awareness during periods of uncertainty. By positioning a carrier strike group within reach of the region, the United States can monitor developments closely and coordinate with regional partners while maintaining a visible maritime presence in international waters.
And when we talk about regional partners, Adam, we are referring to a network of countries that cooperate on maritime security, navigation safety, and regional stability. In many cases, naval forces conduct joint exercises, communication drills, and patrol operations designed to improve coordination and prevent misunderstandings in busy waterways. When a carrier strike group operates in the area, it can participate in these activities while also serving as a platform for cooperation among allied and partner navies.
That cooperative dimension is often overlooked when people discuss military deployments, yet it plays an important role in maintaining stability in regions where shipping traffic is extremely dense and international interests are closely connected. The carrier's aircraft can conduct observation flights, support communication among naval forces, and help build a clear understanding of what is happening across a wide maritime area. This kind of situational awareness is crucial for preventing small incidents from escalating into larger misunderstandings.
Another aspect worth mentioning is that the presence of a carrier strike group can provide reassurance to allies and partners who rely on secure maritime routes for their economic activity. When a large naval formation is operating in international waters, it signals that the security of shipping lanes is being carefully monitored, and that there are resources available to respond quickly if necessary. In regions where global trade flows through narrow waterways, that sense of reassurance can be very important for maintaining confidence in the stability of international commerce.
And it is important to emphasize that aircraft carriers operate within the framework of international maritime law and established naval practices that govern how ships move through international waters. These deployments are usually planned months in advance and coordinated through military command structures and diplomatic channels. The goal is not to create tension, but to maintain awareness and readiness while supporting broader efforts aimed at preserving stability in strategically important maritime environments.
Exactly, because in many ways the presence of a carrier strike group is part of a larger system designed to prevent crises rather than provoke them. By maintaining visibility, communication, and observation capabilities in areas where global interests converge, naval forces can help ensure that shipping routes remain open and that unexpected situations are handled carefully and responsibly. This kind of steady presence often contributes to a more predictable security environment, which benefits both regional countries and the global economy.
So when we hear about the USS Abraham Lincoln operating in waters connected to the Middle East, it is useful to see the bigger picture behind that deployment. The ship represents not only a powerful military platform, but also a mobile center of observation, cooperation, and strategic awareness that can support maritime stability in one of the most economically significant regions of the world.
And as we continue our discussion, we will look more closely at another key concept that helps explain why aircraft carriers are used in this way, which is the idea of deterrence, a strategy that focuses on preventing conflict by demonstrating capability and readiness, rather than by engaging in direct confrontation.
When we talk about why aircraft carriers like the USS Abraham Lincoln are deployed near strategically sensitive regions, it is important to introduce a key concept in military strategy known as deterrence. At its core, deterrence is about preventing conflict before it begins, by making it clear to potential adversaries that any aggressive action would be met with a swift and decisive response. This is different from engaging in combat directly. Deterrence relies on the perception of capability and readiness, which can influence decision-making without firing a single weapon. In the context of modern naval operations, aircraft carriers are some of the most visible symbols of this principle because their presence alone demonstrates mobility, power, and advanced technology that could be employed if necessary.
Exactly, Adam. And it is crucial to understand that deterrence does not mean provoking conflict. Instead, it is about showing sufficient strength to make aggression costly or unwise for an opposing actor. By positioning a carrier strike group in a region like the waters near Iran, the United States signals that it has the capability to respond quickly to threats while maintaining control over key maritime areas. This visibility reassures allies and partners that potential disruptions to trade or security will be addressed, while at the same time sending a subtle message to potential adversaries that escalation carries serious risks, and therefore avoiding conflict is the smarter choice.
Exactly, Julia. The unique advantage of an aircraft carrier in deterrence is that it combines speed, flexibility, and reach. The carrier itself carries an entire air wing capable of patrolling vast areas, conducting reconnaissance, and responding to emerging threats within hours rather than days. Unlike forces stationed in distant bases, the carrier can move closer to a region of concern without requiring permission from a host nation, which allows commanders to maintain readiness and presence in real time. This capability is particularly valuable in areas where tensions could escalate quickly, because the carrier can observe developments, provide options to political leaders, and maintain a credible threat without initiating direct military action.
And Adam, another critical element is the psychological impact of presence. When a large carrier strike group is visible in a strategic region, it can encourage diplomatic solutions rather than military ones. Governments or groups considering aggressive actions are aware that the consequences of confrontation are high, and that any sudden moves could trigger a rapid, coordinated response from a carrier's air wing, destroyers, and submarines. This combination of visible capability and readiness often encourages countries to resolve disputes through negotiation, diplomacy, or international mechanisms rather than resorting to violence.
That's an important point, Julia, because deterrence is not about intimidation for the sake of fear. It is about shaping behavior through strategic clarity. A carrier strike group's operations are carefully coordinated, and its presence communicates that the United States has multiple layers of defense and offensive capabilities available, which can respond efficiently and proportionally to potential threats. In this way, the carrier functions as both a shield and a signal, a mobile platform that protects regional stability while demonstrating the cost of aggression.
Exactly. This is why visibility matters so much. Even the knowledge that the USS Abraham Lincoln and its supporting ships are operating in international waters can influence regional decision-making. Countries know that the carrier air wing can monitor airspace, conduct surveillance, and support allied forces if necessary. That awareness often encourages restraint and fosters communication channels that might prevent misunderstandings from escalating into direct confrontations.
And when we look at real-world examples, carrier deployments have historically helped maintain calm in high-tension areas. The strategic mobility of the carrier allows it to appear where needed, monitor developing situations, and provide immediate options for military leadership. This ability to respond quickly without actually engaging demonstrates the principle of deterrence perfectly. Potential threats are managed before they become crises.
Another way to think about it is that the carrier strike group provides a form of peace through strength. While its aircraft, destroyers, and submarines are capable of powerful military action, their presence is often enough to encourage restraint and negotiation. This subtle influence can prevent conflicts, stabilize shipping routes, and reassure regional allies that security is being actively maintained without any shots being fired.
Exactly, Julia. In essence, deterrence leverages the carrier's advanced technology, mobility, and human expertise to shape the strategic environment. The USS Abraham Lincoln is not only a symbol of U.S. naval power, but also a tool that encourages cautious behavior among potential aggressors, allowing diplomatic solutions to take priority and reducing the risk of sudden escalation in volatile regions.
So, when people see reports of carriers operating near regions like Iran, it's not necessarily a sign that war is imminent. Rather, it reflects a careful strategy of prevention, demonstrating capability, maintaining readiness, and using visibility as a tool to encourage stability and diplomacy, all while ensuring that maritime trade, energy routes, and regional security remain protected.
And with that understanding of deterrence in place, we can now move on to discuss how these carriers actually monitor the region and maintain maritime security, which is the next layer of their operational role, combining observation, intelligence gathering, and coordination with regional partners to maintain a stable and secure maritime environment. When we discuss why an aircraft carrier like the USS Abraham Lincoln is considered one of the most formidable platforms in the world, it is impossible to ignore the extensive technology and defense systems that protect both the ship itself and the entire carrier strike group. On board the Abraham Lincoln, we find layers of sophisticated defensive tools designed to counter threats from multiple domains: air, sea, and even underwater. For example, the carrier is equipped with advanced missile interceptors that can detect incoming threats, track their trajectory, and launch countermeasures capable of neutralizing missiles before they reach the ship. These interceptors are part of a multi-tiered system, meaning that if one defensive layer fails, another is ready to engage, creating redundancy and reliability in critical situations.
Exactly, Adam. In addition to missile defense, the carrier relies on powerful radar systems that provide situational awareness across vast distances. These radars scan for approaching aircraft, ships, and surface threats in real time, allowing operators to respond immediately to potential dangers. When combined with the carrier's advanced tracking and targeting software, these radar systems ensure that the Abraham Lincoln can detect and identify objects far beyond visual range. This early warning capability is crucial because it allows the ship to take preventive action, whether that means alerting the crew, coordinating with accompanying destroyers, or preparing aircraft for rapid deployment.
Another essential part of the carrier's defensive network is the Close-In Weapon System, or CIWS, which is designed to protect the ship against threats that have penetrated the longer-range defenses. The CIWS is a rapid-fire gun system capable of firing thousands of rounds per minute to destroy incoming missiles, drones, or small vessels at close range. These systems operate automatically and are often guided by radar tracking, creating a final line of defense that complements the carrier's other protective measures. The combination of missile interceptors, radar, and CIWS ensures that the carrier has multiple defensive options available at any moment, making it extremely difficult for a single threat to succeed against the ship.
But it's not only the carrier itself that is protected. The entire strike group operates as an integrated, multi-layered defense network, where each vessel contributes to the overall security of the formation. Destroyers provide missile defense and radar coverage beyond the carrier's immediate range. Supply ships help maintain operational readiness, and submarines monitor underwater threats. Together, these ships create overlapping layers of defense that protect the carrier from attacks by aircraft, missiles, drones, or even hostile vessels. This layered approach is one of the reasons why aircraft carriers can operate safely even in regions with heightened geopolitical tensions, such as the waters near Iran.
Technology in modern naval warfare goes beyond traditional guns and missiles. Today, aircraft carriers and their strike groups increasingly rely on cyber systems, electronic warfare, and advanced sensors to maintain superiority. Electronic warfare systems can jam or confuse enemy radar, communication, or targeting equipment, effectively reducing the risk posed by hostile forces. Cyber systems monitor networks and protect the carrier from digital threats, ensuring that operational and communication systems remain secure. Advanced sensors provide precise data about everything from weather and ocean conditions to the exact location of other vessels or aircraft, allowing commanders to make informed decisions in real time.
That's a very important point, Adam. In many ways, a modern aircraft carrier is as much a floating high-tech command center as it is a warship. The integration of traditional weapons, electronic defenses, sensors, and cyber capabilities allows the strike group to operate in a coordinated manner that is highly adaptable to changing conditions. This combination of technologies ensures that the Abraham Lincoln can detect threats early, neutralize them efficiently, and maintain operational readiness even in challenging environments where multiple hazards might appear simultaneously.
And because naval warfare is increasingly multidimensional, the defensive systems must work seamlessly together. Radar detects a fast-moving missile. A missile interceptor is launched automatically to intercept it, and the CIWS stands ready to stop any residual threats. At the same time, electronic warfare systems can disrupt enemy guidance or communications, making the attack less accurate or effective. Meanwhile, cyber systems protect the carrier's networks from hacking attempts that could disable critical systems. The integration of these technologies creates a resilient and adaptive defense system that significantly reduces the risk to the carrier and its personnel.
Moreover, the presence of these advanced defense systems is not just about combat readiness. It also enhances deterrence. Potential adversaries know that attacking a carrier strike group is highly risky because these ships are protected by multiple overlapping systems capable of responding quickly and effectively. The combination of visible weapons systems, high-tech radar, and electronic countermeasures sends a clear message. Any aggressive action could be detected, countered, and neutralized rapidly. This knowledge can prevent incidents from escalating, contributing to regional stability even without engaging in actual conflict.
Another fascinating aspect of carrier defense is how it extends beyond the ship itself. The strike group's formation ensures that the carrier is surrounded by layers of protection. Destroyers monitor air and missile threats at long distances, submarines provide undersea security, and supply ships keep the group operationally ready. Each ship in the group is connected through secure communications, allowing rapid coordination and collective response. In effect, the carrier is the command center, but the strike group is the shield and operational arm, creating a combination of offense, defense, and intelligence that functions continuously.
And when you combine this defensive network with the air wing operating from the flight deck, the Abraham Lincoln becomes a fully integrated system capable of both detecting and responding to threats while simultaneously projecting power across a large area. Fighter jets, surveillance planes, and electronic warfare aircraft extend the carrier's reach, allowing it to identify dangers far before they become immediate threats. This synergy between shipboard defenses, aerial assets, and supporting vessels is what makes a modern carrier strike group one of the most advanced and adaptable military formations in existence today.
In short, the technological and defensive capabilities of the USS Abraham Lincoln and its strike group provide a combination of protection, situational awareness, and operational flexibility. From missile interceptors and radar arrays to CIWS, electronic warfare, and cyber systems, these layers of defense create a resilient and adaptive force that can operate safely even in regions with complex security challenges. This makes the carrier not just a floating airbase, but a highly secure, technologically advanced platform that can respond to emerging threats efficiently while maintaining its primary missions of surveillance, deterrence, and support for regional stability.
And as we continue our discussion, we will explore how these technological capabilities, combined with strategic positioning and the air wing, allow the carrier to monitor maritime traffic, respond to crises, and support diplomacy, creating a dynamic presence that shapes both security and political outcomes in critical regions like the Persian Gulf.
When we think about the USS Abraham Lincoln in the waters near the Middle East, it's easy to imagine a carrier ready to launch jets into combat at a moment's notice. But the reality of daily life on board is much more nuanced and highly structured. The ship operates around the clock, with thousands of sailors and officers performing highly coordinated tasks that allow the carrier to remain fully operational, maintain situational awareness, and respond quickly if a threat arises. One of the key elements of these daily operations is the continuous flight launches, where aircraft from the carrier's air wing take off on patrol, reconnaissance, or surveillance missions. Each launch involves careful coordination between pilots, deck crews, and command centers, ensuring that aircraft can operate safely even while the ship moves across the open ocean.
Absolutely, Adam. And these flight operations are not just demonstrations of military power. They serve very practical purposes in maintaining regional security. Recently, the Abraham Lincoln conducted a series of routine flight operations over waters connecting to the Persian Gulf, patrolling areas where shipping traffic is dense and geopolitical tensions are high. These missions allow the carrier to observe commercial vessels, track regional naval activity, and monitor potential threats in real time. By collecting information continuously, the crew can provide commanders with a detailed picture of maritime activity, which supports both operational readiness and strategic decision-making in the region.
Exactly, Julia. Beyond flight operations, another critical component of the carrier's daily work is intelligence gathering. Using onboard sensors, radar systems, and aircraft, the carrier collects information about the surrounding airspace, sea lanes, and potential threats. This intelligence is processed and shared with the Strike Group, U.S. Central Command, and allied partners, ensuring that everyone involved has an accurate understanding of the operational environment. This data includes everything from the movement of commercial ships to changes in naval activity or unusual maritime behavior, which can indicate potential security risks.
And it's important to note that the Abraham Lincoln and its strike group are constantly engaged in monitoring and communication. Even when tensions are high in a region, a large part of the daily activity is focused on staying connected with other naval assets, regional partners, and command centers back in the United States. Secure communications networks allow the carrier to coordinate with destroyers, submarines, and supply ships while maintaining situational awareness over vast distances. These coordinated networks ensure that the strike group can respond efficiently to emergencies, navigate safely, and maintain operational effectiveness at all times.
Flight operations themselves are a complex choreography of timing, safety, and logistics. Pilots take off from the carrier using catapult systems, fly their designated patrol or surveillance routes, and return to land on a moving flight deck using arrestor wires to stop safely. Each aircraft requires support crews for maintenance, refueling, and armament preparation, which means that daily operations involve hundreds of personnel working in precise synchronization. The goal is not just to conduct missions effectively, but to maximize operational readiness around the clock.
And these patrol activities are closely connected to broader regional monitoring efforts. By flying over key maritime routes, aircraft from the Abraham Lincoln can detect suspicious activity, observe regional naval movements, and gather real-time data on potential security incidents. For instance, ships traveling through the Strait of Hormuz or nearby international waters can be monitored continuously, which allows commanders to anticipate challenges, support allied navigation, and coordinate with regional partners. These operations ensure that the strike group is not just a symbolic presence, but an active participant in maintaining maritime security.
Even during periods of heightened tension, much of the carrier's work is preventive and observational, rather than combative. While the crew is prepared to respond to threats, the daily focus remains on surveillance, intelligence gathering, and coordination. These activities allow the strike group to maintain situational awareness without unnecessarily escalating situations. The carrier functions as both an operational hub and a platform for real-time information, which is critical when decisions need to be made quickly in volatile areas.
Another important aspect of daily operations is the integration of different elements of the strike group. The Abraham Lincoln's aircraft coordinate with destroyers and submarines to monitor airspace, surface vessels, and underwater activities simultaneously. Supply ships ensure that the carrier and its supporting vessels remain stocked and ready, allowing missions to continue without interruption. This constant interplay of aircraft, ships, and communication networks is what allows the strike group to maintain an almost continuous presence across strategically significant waters.
It's also worth noting that the carrier's operations are designed to be highly flexible. Pilots may be tasked with adjusting their patrol routes based on emerging intelligence, while command centers coordinate with regional partners to respond to maritime incidents. The combination of mobility, air power, and advanced surveillance allows the Abraham Lincoln to operate efficiently in unpredictable environments, ensuring that the strike group can adapt to sudden developments while maintaining the overall mission of stability and maritime security.
And this adaptability extends beyond physical operations. Modern carriers use sophisticated software systems and integrated communications networks to analyze incoming data in real time, allowing operators to assess risk, coordinate movements, and anticipate potential threats. This high level of coordination means that even though the strike group is operating in a complex and potentially volatile region, decision-makers can maintain a clear understanding of the environment and act decisively when needed.
In summary, the day-to-day operations of the USS Abraham Lincoln are a careful balance of activity, observation, and coordination. While flight launches, patrols, and intelligence collection are visually impressive, the true effectiveness of the carrier comes from how these activities are integrated with the ship's defensive systems, supporting vessels, and command infrastructure. This ensures that the carrier is always ready to respond, maintain stability, and support broader U.S. and allied objectives without provoking unnecessary conflict.
And as we move into the next section, we'll examine how the carrier contributes to regional diplomacy and alliance support, showing how the combination of patrol activities, technological capabilities, and visible presence works not only to maintain security, but also to support broader strategic relationships in the Middle East.
When discussing the USS Abraham Lincoln and its operations near the Middle East, it's natural to step back and ask a broader question that analysts often debate. In today's world of missiles, drones, cyber warfare, and advanced precision weapons, do aircraft carriers still hold the same relevance they did decades ago? Some critics argue that these massive vessels, despite their size and capabilities, are increasingly vulnerable to modern technologies such as anti-ship ballistic missiles, long-range precision strikes, and sophisticated electronic warfare systems. They suggest that in the event of a high-intensity conflict, carriers might be too slow, visible, or exposed to serve as decisive instruments of power, especially against opponents who have invested heavily in missile technology and long-range strike systems.
That is a valid concern, Adam, but the reality is that aircraft carriers remain extremely relevant for a wide range of modern military and geopolitical operations. The key lies in their ability to combine mobility, flexibility, and global reach, which no other platform can match in a single package. Unlike fixed bases on foreign soil, carriers can reposition rapidly to respond to emerging crises, support humanitarian missions, or provide air power where it is needed most. This capability is especially important in regions like the Middle East or the Indo-Pacific, where tensions can escalate suddenly and access to land bases may be limited by political or logistical constraints.
Exactly, Julia. Another point worth noting is that aircraft carriers are highly adaptable platforms, capable of supporting a variety of missions beyond traditional combat. They can conduct intelligence gathering, reconnaissance, surveillance, and show-of-force operations, while simultaneously providing logistical support to allied forces. Their aircraft can fly over vast areas of ocean, projecting air power hundreds of miles from the ship itself. This operational flexibility allows a single carrier to perform multiple functions at once, including deterrence, monitoring, and rapid response to emerging threats.
And we can see the continued global investment in aircraft carriers as evidence of their ongoing strategic importance. Countries like the United States maintain several nuclear-powered carriers, while other major powers, including China and India, continue to expand or modernize their carrier fleets. These nations recognize that aircraft carriers are more than just weapons platforms. They are symbols of national power, technological achievement, and strategic reach. Their presence communicates influence and reassures allies, while also serving as a deterrent to potential adversaries.
Indeed, Julia. Even in the age of advanced missiles and cyber warfare, the Carrier Strike Group remains one of the most visible and versatile instruments of naval strategy. Its combination of defensive systems, air wings, and integrated strike group operations allows it to perform missions that no other single naval asset can match. Whether it's projecting power, supporting allied operations, conducting maritime security, or serving as a mobile command center, carriers continue to play a critical role in global strategy.
Another reason carriers matter is their ability to operate in international waters without relying on foreign bases. This autonomy is particularly important in regions where diplomatic access may be restricted, uncertain, or politically sensitive. The mobility of a carrier strike group ensures that military and humanitarian options remain available regardless of the situation on land. This makes aircraft carriers indispensable not only for wartime operations, but also for crisis management, disaster response, and long-term strategic presence.
And beyond their operational utility, carriers are perhaps the most recognizable symbols of naval power in the modern world. When a vessel like the Abraham Lincoln appears in a region, it signals capability, readiness, and influence. For allies, this visibility can reassure them that security commitments are being upheld. For adversaries, it demonstrates that intervention or aggression carries clear risks. In this way, aircraft carriers combine practical functionality with powerful symbolic impact, reinforcing both military and diplomatic objectives simultaneously.
Ultimately, while debates about vulnerability and modern threats continue, the consensus among naval strategists is that aircraft carriers still matter because of what they represent and what they can achieve. Their flexibility, global reach, integrated defense systems, and ability to project air power across vast distances ensure that they remain central to the defense strategies of major powers. Even in a world of drones, cyber attacks, and long-range missiles, carriers provide options, readiness, and influence that are difficult to replicate with any other platform.
So, when we observe the USS Abraham Lincoln operating near regions like the Persian Gulf, it's important to see beyond the size of the ship or the spectacle of flight operations. The carrier represents a combination of strategy, technology, and diplomacy, embodying a capability to respond to crises, support allies, and maintain stability in complex and contested maritime regions. It is a floating center of power that remains highly relevant in global strategy, demonstrating why nations continue to invest in and rely upon these extraordinary vessels.
Exactly, Adam. In the next and final section, we'll summarize the key lessons from our discussion, reflecting on how the Abraham Lincoln, its air wing, defensive systems, and global deployments illustrate the intersection of modern military strategy, deterrence, and regional stability, providing a comprehensive understanding of why aircraft carriers remain central to international security today.
As we reach the conclusion of our discussion about the USS Abraham Lincoln, it's valuable to take a step back and reflect on the main lessons we've explored throughout this episode. First, we must recognize that aircraft carriers are mobile air bases, capable of projecting air power wherever the world's oceans allow, without the need for permanent bases on foreign soil. They are more than just ships. They are floating hubs of operations, combining advanced technology, an air wing of sophisticated aircraft, and thousands of personnel working in coordinated roles. These mobile bases allow nations to respond quickly to crises, observe emerging situations, and provide both deterrence and operational support in regions where stability is essential.
Exactly, Adam. And it's important to remember that carriers never operate alone. They function as part of large strike groups, which include guided missile destroyers, submarines, supply ships, and surveillance aircraft. This integrated network ensures the safety of the carrier, provides multiple layers of defense, and allows the group to operate effectively even in tense or unpredictable regions. The combination of mobility, air power, and layered protection demonstrates how modern naval strategy blends technology, coordination, and planning to support both military and diplomatic objectives.
Another key takeaway is that the presence of carriers is not necessarily a sign of imminent conflict. Instead, their deployment often aims to maintain stability, reassure allies, and provide rapid response capabilities if needed. By being present in sensitive regions like the waters near Iran, the Abraham Lincoln serves as a visible symbol of readiness, a deterrent against aggression, and a platform for monitoring maritime activity and regional security dynamics. Its operations illustrate how military power can be used strategically to prevent conflict rather than provoke it.
And beyond the military dimension, understanding these deployments also highlights how geography, technology, and diplomacy interact in international relations. The location of strategic waterways, the technological capabilities of modern vessels, and the broader geopolitical environment all influence decisions about where and how aircraft carriers operate. By following global news carefully, listeners can gain insight into how nations manage tension, coordinate with allies, and make decisions that affect stability on a regional and global scale.
Reflecting on all of this, it becomes clear that understanding global security is not only about the size of a ship or the number of aircraft it carries. It's about understanding how nations manage risk, maintain readiness, prevent escalation, and ensure that crises are handled in ways that protect both regional and global stability. The Abraham Lincoln, its air wing, and the accompanying strike group exemplify the complex interaction between strategy, technology, and international relations, demonstrating that military power is just one piece of a much larger puzzle aimed at maintaining balance in an interconnected world.
And for all our listeners who are learning English, discussing these global topics is also an excellent way to improve your language skills. By exploring real-world events, military strategy, and international relations in English, you gain exposure to vocabulary, sentence structures, and expressions that are widely used in global discussions. Learning about international affairs while practicing English allows you to think critically, understand the world more deeply, and communicate effectively about complex subjects.
So, whether you are interested in military strategy, geopolitics, or language learning, the USS Abraham Lincoln provides a fascinating example of how a single platform can influence both local stability and global perceptions. Its operations remind us that power, responsibility, and strategy are all interconnected, and that knowledge of global security helps us understand the world in a more informed and nuanced way.
Absolutely, Adam. And with that, we encourage our listeners to stay curious, follow international developments, and consider how elements like geography, technology, and diplomacy shape global events. Discussing these issues in English is more than just practice. It's a way to engage with the world while improving your skills, expanding your understanding, and connecting language learning to real-world knowledge.
So the next time you hear about a carrier like the Abraham Lincoln operating near a strategic region, think beyond the headlines. Consider the coordination, strategy, and responsibility behind its presence, and how understanding these factors can deepen your awareness of global affairs.
And remember, learning English through discussions about real-world topics gives you a practical, engaging, and meaningful way to grow both linguistically and intellectually. Thank you for joining us on this exploration of naval strategy, global security, and the fascinating role of aircraft carriers in today's interconnected world.
Until next time, keep observing, keep learning, and think critically about the world around you.